Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today I am here with our 100th video, and what a cracker it is set to be, as we are going to be racing with Formula 2 cars around the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. It's going to be a last question mark challenge for ourselves here today against 100% AI, and it overtaking is suddenly going to be at a premium with these treacherous and wet track conditions. Of course, those 3 DRS zones will not be activated due to the current downpour, and with ourselves being much weaker than our opponents in the final sector, much stronger in the first sector, and pretty similar in the middle sector, this may be our only overtaking opportunity on the lap. Of course, the 180-degree banked corner at the start of the middle sector. The stunning but drenched Aston Martin safety car on show before we can plunge our teeth into some racing action at Jeddah. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Aston Martin safety car once again today in these treacherous conditions. A safety car quite likely as a result of some shenanigans, especially on lap number 1 with the pack so close together heading into the first sequence of corners. We start from the back of the grid with plenty of work to do to cut through the field. One man who certainly doesn't start from the back of the grid, lining up on pole, is the Carlin of Jehan de Rouvler as we have a look at the starting grid. He's accompanied on the front row by Felipe Drugovich, the Brazilian, for Uni Virtuosi Racing, only 200ths behind in qualifying. Then on the second row, we have Jack Aitken and Theo Boucher, followed by Richard Verschoor and my teammate Robert Schwartzman. It's then Lawson and Armstrong, followed by Lundgaard and Joe, who round out the top 10. Then it's Vips and Viscal, followed by Dan Ticktum and Lorim Zendelli, with Beckman and Sato behind. You then got Roy Nissany and Ralph Boschung. They're followed by Deleda and Samaya, while Fittipaldi and ourselves round out the back of the grid. In terms of strategy here today, it will be a zero-stop race, of course, no mandatory pit stops in the wet conditions. Here we go in Jeddah then, 5 red lights, a long hold, they're out, and away we go for our 100th video. It's a fantastic start for ourselves, not so much for Samaya, just in front. He nearly squeezes into the wall. Thankfully there's no contact, and now we can dash down into turn 1. We're going to go for an ultra dive bomb, even down the inside line of Zendelli, narrowly missing the wall at turn 1, mounting the curb. Zendelli's starting to get away from ourselves, but we're going to go side by side with Beckman, and we're going to get past him through this sweeping left-hander on the inside line. Now we're going to go for a dive bomb on Lorim Zendelli into the next corner. He squeezes us with an early contact, but we are going to come through and slam the door shut on the exit to maintain that position, and we are up into P14. Sato and Beckman, meanwhile, jockeying for P16 further back, and Sato is going to keep that position. Fantastic work from him on lap number 1, as we are already up into P14, and we got a face full of the car lane just in front. Dan Ticktum in P13, but potentially not for that much longer, as we are catching with a better exit than him off that first sector. We're going to go down the inside line. He tries to defend, but pretty helpless as we nicely and comfortably get the move done up into P13 on lap number 1. What a start for ourselves, but then we're a bit squirmy on the exit, a bit squirrely all over the place, way too tight. A huge snap of oversteer. Thankfully, we're going to stay ahead of Ticktum here, but now he's sending it down the inside line even. Nearly contact. Nothing I could do there. Thankfully, we both escaped relatively unscathed. But now, of course, you can see how much slower we are in the final sector. Ticktum's going to try and go around the outside line. I'm comfortable with that, as, of course, we can keep it tight to the inside line, slam the door shut on the exit, and maintain our position. That's exactly what we're going to do here on lap number 1, as Felipe Drugovich leads the race. On to lap number 2 here, and it's Jory Vips just in front in that Red Bull livery. Red Bull might give you wings, but we are like a plane through Sector 1. It's almost as if we've got some nitrous oxide in the back of our Formula 2 car. Then we seem to be carrying a mobility scooter on the back through the final sector. Nonetheless, though, a fantastic exit out of the first sector, and we are chasing and chasing onto Jory Vips. He's not going to defend the inside line, and we are going to sneak through into P12. We're struggling to hook the apex up there, though. A bit of a slide mid-corner. Thankfully, there is no contact, and we both escape unscathed. We're up into P12. Sadly for Fittipaldi, at the start of this race, he did obtain some front wing damage on the first lap. He is pitted for a fresh piece of carbon fibre, and now we're under a bit of threat from Jory Vips. We're forced to go to the outside line to potentially avoid Viscal going fairly slowly in front. Thankfully, Vips does not sneak through down the inside line into P12, and we maintain our position, and now we can push on to Viscal, onto lap number 3, who's currently sat in P11 at the moment. Sadly for David Beckman, he's currently in the pit, supposedly for a fresh front wing. A real shame for him in this race, of course. He's pretty much out of the mix unless we have a safety car, and then even cutting your way through from the back of the field is extremely difficult in these wet conditions. But we are once again asserting our dominance through the first sector, chasing onto Viscal just in front. Again, a better exit. We're going to go down the inside line, and we're going to hook it up very nicely. A bit of a slide mid-corner on the curb. We are up into P11 on the verge of the point, so close to Lundgaard, and we are making incredible progress. To say it's just lap number 3 but that progress may be hindered as we are once again struggling for grip through the final sector. And we are under threat from Viscal. He has a look at the inside line. We try and persuade him to go to the outside line, and he does opt for that. And now, of course, we can just squeeze him out on the exit, and we maintain our P11 for yet another lap in this race. Felipe Drugovich currently goes quickest. We were purple in Sector 2, but a poor Sector 3 is not going to be enough to improve our lap time or even go quickest as we head down to turn 1 comfortably in front of Viscal, carrying quite a bit of speed in. A little bit of slide through there. Absolutely attacking the curb on the inside line at turn 2, and we maintain our P11. Our next mission is to try and get in front of Christian Lundgaard, who sits in P10, and we are catching once again through the first of 3 sectors here at Jeddah. 3 sectors, of course, at every single track, but Jeddah being a long track, the first sector's quite long, which is helpful for ourselves as we are much quicker than our opponents through there. An incredible exit compared to Lundgaard. A purple sector 1 as Fittipaldi goes quickest after pitting. We go down the inside line of Christian Lundgaard. We move up into the points here today at Jeddah, lap number 4, and we already have a solitary point. What a move, and we move comfortably in front and away from Lundgaard. Next up, of course, is Guan Yu Zhou to try and overtake in that Alpine livery. Drugovich has just once again retaken that fastest lap. We are going to go over the line and take that from him. A 1 minute 55.056. Thanks to that purple sector 1. And here on lap number 5, it's Zhou just in front in P9. We're going to look for another move, search for another opportunity to try and come past. We've got at least an overtake per lap so far, and if we could continue that, that would certainly be quite beneficial to our progress in this race. Once again, a better exit than our opponents. The Univirtuosi Racing car trying to defend the inside line. Fantastic defending from Zhou. We're still committed. We still go down the inside line. What a move. And we're up into P9. We were committed, and that certainly paid off there as we are one step closer to making a top 5 finish here today. And now we're approaching the section of the track where we are significantly slower than our opponents. We're fine through this chicane-like section, but it's now this upcoming corner, this right-hander, the sweeper, where we lose so much time. I cannot carry the pace through there in these wet conditions unless I'm just simply catapulting into the wall on the exit. Now, if I take the curve on the inside line, we're spinning out uncontrollably, and now we are vulnerable to Guan Yu Zhou, who's looking to rival ourselves into the final corner. We're going to hug that inside line, and almost too much there as we're way too close to the wall on the inside line. Thankfully, though, we do manage to keep the position on Guan Yu Zhou. We maintain our P9, and there is no damage on the car. Of course, Guan Yu Zhou these days driving in Formula 1 for Alfa Romeo, and he's looking to outdrive ourselves into turn 1, but we are going to try and stay in front at the braking zone. Of course, hugging the apex at turn 1, similarly so at turn 2, not just hugging it, absolutely launching our car over the curb, and we managed to keep that P9. And what a Sector 1 it has been this time round. Pretty much perfect for ourselves. What is it going to be? It's going to be a 41.975, 5/10 quicker, a purple Sector 1. We aren't going to be able to get past Liam Lawson this time round, but of course on lap number 7 we should be able to continue our progress up the field and hopefully by the end of this race make it up maybe into the top 5, as I said earlier. And now we are approaching the halfway point in this race. At the end of this lap we will have just 7 more racing laps to go, potentially 7 more opportunities at that 180-degree bank corner to make our way up the field. But this time round it's going to be Liam Lawson. We were pretty good last time round through the final sector, not to lose too much time. We've attacked through the first sector. We're prioritising the exit this time round. We're chasing and chasing onto the back of Liam, and now we can go down the inside line. It's a bit too far back for ourselves. We're still going to try carrying a lot of speed in, slightly missing the apex. Nonetheless, though, we get a magnificent move done, and we are up into P8. It's Marcus Armstrong next. On lap number 7, we're chasing down the car that currently sits in 7th place. The dam's just in front, so providing we're pretty decent through the final sector this time round, we should be able to attack him next time round on lap number 8. But yellow flags are out, and I think it's for Théo Boucher in front. He was P3, but it looks like he's slowing out of this race, and he's having mechanical failure, forced to slow down to avoid a slowing Armstrong in front. Lawson speeds back through, and now he could be vulnerable to Guan Yu Zhou, who's chasing us down from behind. We're really messy and shaken, and now the safety car is deployed. Absolute drama here. We started the lap in P9 and we are going to finish it in P8. Lawson sped back past us as we tried to slow down from Armstrong in front, who was pretty much stopping to avoid the almost stationary Théo Boucher. Absolute drama here, and we will have 3 laps that are neutralised under the safety car, which is certainly going to hamper our progress, and that P5 target may have to be slightly adjusted and tinkered with something more realistic, as we are going to struggle to make it up to there of course, with these 3 laps not allowing us to make any more progress. So it's effectively an 11-lap race now for ourselves. Usually under a safety car, everyone would be diving into the pits for a fresh set of tyres and a free stop, but that's not necessary here today. Of course, no mandatory pit stops, as I said earlier, in wet conditions, and tyre wear is never really an issue around Jeddah despite the heat. This safety car, though, is an absolute lifesaver for Fittipaldi, but also for David Beckman, as they're going to be able to rejoin this very long and winding snake. It will certainly become a winding snake through the first sector. However, they will really struggle to make any progress up the field. They might be able to rejoin the pack, however, they aren't really going to be able to overtake, of course. We haven't struggled with side-by-side racing. The AI, though, haven't been able to jockey for position with each other in these conditions. It's been a bit of a procession for themselves, not so much for ourselves, though, here today. And now, after 3 neutralised laps, the safety car is set to re-enter the pits this time round on lap number 10, and hopefully with a strong restart we can regain that position on Liam Lawson that we did manage to take on lap number 7. But of course then we lost that position after we had to slow down to avoid Marcus Armstrong, who was slowing to avoid a very much slow Teo Poucher. A real shame to lose him from what was set to be a podium in this race, and that's hampered our progress. P5, it's still possible, but it's going to be a tad more difficult with 3 less laps than we should have had. Notoriously, I'm not that fantastic with safety car restarts. Hopefully we can get a good one here today and a strong exit out of the final corner, all tiptoeing round. And now, away we go on the exit. We're going to be quite aggressive and way too aggressive there on the res. We nearly lose the car, and we could drop into the realms of Wan Yu Zhou. Is the dive bomb on Lawson still on into turn 1? We'll have to wait and see. We've got to risk it for that P7. We're going to do exactly that down the inside line. It's going to be an insane dive bomb. Nearly losing the car. We keep it under control, though. We're going to squeeze him at turn 2, and we're up into P7. What an incredible move on lap number 11 on the safety car restart, but we could be under pressure, though, from Liam Lawson. He's going to have a look round the outside line. Pretty pointless there, though. Of course, he's not going to manage to come past us at that corner. We have that inside line, which is absolutely king there. We are dropping a tad away from Armstrong in front, so we won't be able to go for a move on him, I don't think, this time round. However, we may be able to attack him onto lap number 12. However, a very poor lap this time round, probably the worst I've done in the whole race. You can say 1.8 seconds slower, and now we're under pressure from Lawson. He's trying to go down the inside line into turn 1. A fantastic attempt at a move. We're going to have the inside line, though, for turn 2. Absolutely throwing it over the curbs, potentially being a tad too generous with track limits, but we do manage to maintain our P7, which is absolutely pivotal here. But with that, we have dropped further and further away from Armstrong. The gap now 1.2 seconds, and we will not regain all of that through sector 1, so it's going to have to be the penultimate or the final lap if we want to seize that P6 from the Dams driver. It's certainly going to be a frantic end to this race. And already we are venturing onto the penultimate lap in this race. It's gone incredibly quickly, and it's been an incredibly fun one for ourselves, but we have got to get our head down. We have got to try and get past Armstrong here. We're attempting to prioritise the exit, but it's not been that fantastic. We're chasing and chasing him down, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think we're too far back. We're still going to have a go down the inside line. We're forced to take evasive action to avoid him there. Nearly looking up into the wall. We did look up. We managed to hold it, though. Unfortunately, now we could be under pressure from Liam Lawson towards the end of the lap, and he could try and get back past us. And this is the section where we are much slower than our opponents. This chicane, again, pretty fine for ourselves, being quite generous with track limits, but you can be like that round here at Jeddah. But then we're trying to carry way too much speed through, and you can see what happens there. Earlier, we didn't carry enough speed through, then we just too much speed through. That's the same amount of speed that our opponents can take. We just are sliding all over the place, squirreling around, and as a result we are miles behind Armstrong, and Liam Lawson tries to go around the outside line. We're going to defend that position, squeeze him out at the final corner, and we are going to maintain our P7. That's what we've got to do, because Armstrong pretty much out of reach without the lap of our life. We are going to need an insane first sector, and now into the first corner. Lawson is not going to go for a move. We're going to stay with ourselves for the whole of lap number 14, the final lap. Verschaw starting to drop away from my teammate, who currently sits in P4, and as a result he's holding up Armstrong a little bit for ourselves, but I don't think we can bridge that 1.2 second gap. But a fantastic exit out that corner there. We're gaining and gaining. It's nearly down to 5/10. Look at this. Surely there's an opportunity that's going to arise here into the 180-degree bank corner. We are chasing and chasing. We're gaining more and more time. And look at this, the amount more grip we've got at this stage. An insane exit, and that's going to punish ourselves as we're forced to lift off to avoid the back of Armstrong. A purple sector 1 of 41.564, and then we're going to have a think about the inside line, but we simply cannot go for it. We were punished for having such an incredible sector 1. We were forced to lift off, and we are going to have to settle for P7. We've got a comfortable gap back to Liam Lawson, so we might as well attempt to get that fastest lap on the final lap. That'd be quite an achievement. Armstrong, though, pretty slow out of that section. We might have an opportunity, but then he starts to glide back in front, and I think unless we can go for something into the final corner, this will be it for ourselves. A green sector 2 improving there, which means that we have a good opportunity to take the fastest lap this time round. You can see a better exit out the chicane, but then we're much slower through that sweeping right-hander, and as a result we are going to have to settle for P7 here today. We've tried it all. Nonetheless, though, it's been a great drive from last on the grid. We have a think about a move down the inside line at the final corner, but it's never really going to be there. Your winner today, though, is the Brazilian Felipe Drugovich, and he is then followed by Jehan Daruvula and Jack Aitken, while we are going to come home for a very solid P7. A bit of a shame for ourselves that we didn't manage to take that P6 at the end from Marcus Armstrong and his dams. But we mustn't let that dampen our spirits here in Jeddah as we take a well-deserved Driver of the Day award for our troubles. But one team that will be celebrating late into the night is Univirtuosi Racing, as their Formula 1 prospect, the young Brazilian Felipe Drugovich, is stepping out of his car, and a well-deserving winner today. A flawless drive in some treacherous and difficult conditions, in the garage celebrating and watching on too. They didn't have too much to do, of course, did the pit crew. No pit stops involved in today's race, but they had to nervously watch on as Felipe took an incredible win out in these extremely difficult conditions. It can easily go wrong. You cannot afford to lose concentration, and he certainly didn't. And now he can take to the top step of the podium as a team representative walks past to celebrate too, and he lifts the majestic winner's trophy, accompanied on the podium by P2 Jehan Daruvula and P3 Jack Aitken. And now they can spray the supposed champagne, but of course, with it being in Jeddah, that is going to be some fizzy, sparkling water, I would presume, with no alcohol allowed in Jeddah. But for our enjoyment today, it's going to be some champagne on the podium as they celebrate. Result for ourselves out there today was certainly a strong one, though. P22 to P7 in the end. Maybe it could have been a bit more, but we do also manage to take that fastest lap. A 1 minute 54, 3.70, giving us an extra 2 points as a result. But your winner out there today was Felipe Drugovich, a flawless drive from second on the grid. He finished in front of Jehan Daruvula, who started on pole. He finished in P2, followed by Jack Aitken, who rounded out the podium. My teammate Robert Schwartzman finished in P4 in front of Richard Vershaw, Marcus Armstrong, ourselves, Liam Lawson, Juan Yusho, Christian Lundgaard, rounding out the top 10, followed by Viscal, Vips, Tictum, Sato, Zendelli, Bostrom, Nissany, Samaya, Fittipaldi and Beckman, while Deleda and Pouchet both failed to finish. Well, if you guys have enjoyed that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel down below. And if you want more action from what has been a fantastic race here today, then click on the video in the top right corner, which is some lovely refined highlights, or the video in the bottom right corner if you would like the full race, both those two, without my commentary, so you can just enjoy the pure action. But once again, thanks a lot for watching my 100th video. Let's keep this momentum going. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all very soon for some more Formula 1 and Formula 2 content.